Hello everyone, today we will create our very first UI program, a program with a user interface. We will create a desktop program with B4J. However, the process is similar to an Android app with B4A or an iOS app with B4I. Let's start. Creating a new UI project. And we always need to save the project somewhere. We will create a very simple game where the computer chooses a random number and the user needs to guess the chosen number. Let's start with building the user interface. Designer, internal designer. Okay, so this is the Visual Designer. It is made of two windows. This is called the what you see is what you get designer. And here you can see the actual layout. For example, if I add a button, I can move it and change it in the Abstract Designer over here. And I can see the actual look in the what you see is what you get designer. In B4A and B4I we will use a real device or the simulator or emulator instead of this window. In our case we want to have a text field. Add text field. The user will enter the number in the text field. Set the text to guess. We can change many properties in the properties box. Maybe we will change the button's color. We can also give a more descriptive name to the controls. Button guess. Text. We want to do something when the user presses on the button. So we right click. Let's do it over here. We right click on the button and choose the events that we want to implement. In this case, we want to implement the click event. As you can see here, it added this sub to the code. Note that we could have written it ourselves. The only thing that we need to know is the event name. This is the sub prefix and underscore and the event signature, which is click in this case. Okay, now I haven't saved it. Layout 1. Let's run our program. And it shows an empty window. There is also a warning that the layout file was not used because we need to load it. We are loading it to the root pane. Load layout. Run the program again. Much better. I want to add a label which will be used to tell the user whether his number is smaller or larger. Let's set the alignment to top left. No text. Label message. And let's start with implementing the code. We want to have a global variable that will hold the chosen number. We want to choose a random number when the program starts. R&D between 1 to 100, and note that the maximum value is exclusive, so it should be 101. We don't need this one. Now, what happens when the user clicks on the guess button? We want to get the input number. We need to access the text field text property. The first step is to declare the text field. Back to the layout file, right click on text number, generate, and dim text number as text field. We can see it over here. We also need a reference to the label, and we're adding it over here. Note that you can also generate all the events and the declarations in the generate members dialog. This is useful when you have many controls and you want to generate everything at once. A common mistake is to initialize those fields. They will be set automatically when we load the layout. We can see it is initialized. It will be false here, and it will be true over here. Let's try it. And it works. Now, in many cases, developers accidentally write here a different name, and then it will never be initialized, so they try to initialize it themselves, and if you initialize it yourself, it will be initialized, but you will not see it because it was not added to the layout. Let's start with getting the user input. Username text number dot text. If user number is greater than chosen number, label message, my number is smaller. Else smaller. Is larger, else well done. Okay, so we are getting the user input and we are comparing it to the chosen number. We can already test it. Let's help ourselves and write the chosen number in the logs. number is smaller, and well done. Okay, so the main logic is working, but we can improve it. First, if the user leaves this field empty and presses on the guess number or guess button, the program crashes because an empty string cannot be passed to a number, and we will get the same error if we write a non-valid number. Note that in B4A and B4I, where there is a soft keyboard, you can limit the input to numbers. We want to validate the user input. If isNumber is false, please enter a number between 1, 2, and return. Let's try it. It doesn't crash. It's pretty annoying to write the number and then use the mouse to click on the button. It would have been easier to let the user click on enter to submit the number. Let's do it. Right click on text number, generate, and we want to implement the action event. And we will just delegate it to the click event. Another thing that will make the user experience better is to select the text. Select all and request focus. And it's much better now. Let's make a few improvements to the interface. First, we will add an icon. We need to add a file to the Files tab, and then we can select it. You can also see it over here. We will also set the form's title. Save it. Note that when we've added the file to the designer, it was also added here. And there is a title and an icon. As you can see, the controls are not moving or are not being resized when the window is resized. We can use anchors and also other methods to make them resize automatically. Back to our layout. We want this button to be anchored to the right, and this means that it moves together with the right border. And we want the text field to be anchored to both sides. Now it grows and shrinks together with the form. There is also a prompt here which should be removed. we can run our app in release mode. It will generate a jar file. And we have a very nice game here. It is possible to convert this jar to an executable file or to a complete installer, but this is a different topic. That's it. Thank you.